Three must-dos when selling your home in 2024 is what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into all that, please like, comment, subscribe, share. All that fun stuff really helps grow the channel and get you in the know for Wichita real estate and what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. This is a continuation of the smaller video made about the three must-dos for selling your house in 2024. I'm going to go over them in more detail here. Also want to start the timer so I don't go too long. Just make sure I'm not too full of hot air. So this is the continuation of what's going off of three must-dos when selling this year. Price your house right, keep your emotions in check, and stage your house properly. Those are the three things that we're going to be covering today. And the biggest thing I see is that when people don't launch their house well, list their house well, and then it sits and sits and sits, and then you have the pain and the agony of this thing like sitting there forever, because a lot of people have this common misperception that their house is just going to sell right away. It's just going to fly off the market. It's going to be gone in a day or gone in a weekend. And the reality is that's not really the case. That's not really true. It takes a lot of prep. It takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of strategy and the right process for things to be potentially pulled off that fast, which is what we're shooting for. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's what always happens. Doesn't mean you can just go put your crap house on the market and it's just going to sell. I think most people that are in tune with the times right now are realizing that. Some of the people that are still 2-3 years behind, like, don't quite realize that it is harder to sell a house these days and to actually get them to move. I know you hear the exceptions and the awesome highlight stories of, oh, it sold in a day, it sold really fast for over asking price, but we don't realize that that's more the exception than it is necessarily the true case for every house that's out there. We're kind of seeing they either sell very quickly right away on the market when they're a nice house, when all these things are followed, or they take a while to sell. So it's one or the other. Either they're selling very quick or they're taking a while to sell even longer, which matters even more for what we're looking at here for everything. So let me break down these three must-dos a little bit more in detail with the little slideshow thing I made. Let me pull this up for you. So three must-dos when selling your house 2024. We kind of already went over pricing it right, strategy based on previous sales and current market conditions, also based on your motives. If you don't need to sell super fast, you can sit on it a little bit longer. If you do want to get it to sell and move quicker, then obviously we're going to price it appropriately for what your motives are on everything. Number two, the biggest thing for selling your home is how to keep your emotions in check. This one I'd probably say is the biggest help and value you guys can get from this presentation or talk, whatever you want to call it, is understanding the plan and the process for selling a home and the reality of what that actually looks like. And then some cool little self-soothing techniques I'm going to get into to help you basically just deal with this situation. Because selling a home is unlike selling anything else. And we take a lot of our previous experiences from other situations and bring them into real estate, home sales, thinking it's going to be the same. And that's not really the case. This isn't cars. This isn't clothes. This isn't a lot of other sales situations. This is unlike anything else you've ever bought and sold before. So just kind of keep that in mind, that we can't take our past experiences and bring them into this experience, because this is going to be different. And it's not apples to apples of what you're comparing. Number three, stage the home properly. Condition of the home matters both online and in person when touring the home. Having the right environment sets the stage for the sale. It's funny how many times, you go look at a house in person and it doesn't match what the online pictures are. That doesn't work. And staging the home properly, I don't mean you need to go hire a staging company and pay thousands of dollars to put all this fancy furniture in your house. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about when I say staging the home properly. Many times we found, at least in our market, those services for what they charge and what they cost don't necessarily equate to an ROI and a higher dollar price for selling the house on those. So fortunately, I can't really say that we can justify paying a staging company the high amounts of money that they charge for what they do for everything. A lot of it you can do yourself or on your own, or with very minimal staging and improvements instead of hiring a full-on staging company. So anyway, let's get into why listen to me. Local, born and raised Wichita, construction background, 8 years license, 350 homes sold in career so far, and currently have over 140 5-star reviews. I'm not trying to put that out there to be braggadocious, just to give you some credibility and legitimacy on everything. So how to get the most out of this is actually apply it. Obviously, your watching this, you're reading it, everything goes with it. I'm demonstrating this to you, but honestly, I'd like to have a discussion. Shoot me a message. Let's talk about it. Let's participate on everything. And that's how you get the most out of this thing. But first off, for pricing it right, what you really want to do is you want to evaluate and study your local neighborhood prices, days on market, and the condition of updating of homes like yours. Like really nail down into this. I can email this to you. I can send it to you. I can get it narrowed down all the way down to your subdivision instead of looking like the general Wichita area or the market or what Zillow says or an evaluator says. Like, let me give you the manual, like actual adjustment for this. And ultimately, at the end of the day, like we're gonna both determine the price. Like I'm not gonna tell you the price to put it at. I'll help you determine what price you want to strategically place your listing at, but where you position your home in the marketplace compared to other competition is very vital for how much people are going to consider buying your home or not, and your overall motive for moving. And there's three things that sell a house. Price is probably the biggest influencer of actually getting a home to sell and to move. And then the other two would be condition and advertising. So those three things are what sell a home: condition, advertising, and price. And I can guarantee you the advertising is going to be there, which we're going to put in there. The only other two things that we're going to discuss here in a second is condition and price. You know, the condition of the home, which we'll get into on number 3, which is staging it properly. Because staging a home properly is more about the prep and the condition and the showing of the home than it is necessarily like putting it in a bunch of fancy furniture and all those other things that go with that. So the other thing I would also encourage you to do with pricing right is play with the numbers, have some fun with it to generate activity and interest. Having a stale listing just sitting there at the same price, the same numbers, the same thing going on, expecting something different to happen is kind of silly, with not really what I call jiggling the numbers around. You know, dropping the price, moving it back up. Like every time you move the price around, you get more interest, more activity, more exposure to this thing that says like, hey, we want to sell this thing. We want to be serious with it. And we're not playing games. We're just trying to generate activity and interest for you to consider this house to buy it on everything. And one thing with pricing a home is, let's say we're asking $250,000 for a house, and we then have to readjust it, let's say to 245 or 240, or somebody offers us 245 or 240. We didn't lose $5,000. We didn't lose $10,000, because you can't lose what you didn't have in the first place. What you're doing is adjusting it to get a home sale to occur based on what the market's willing to bear and what a buyer is willing to buy a house for. Whatever a seller is willing to sell a house for and a buyer is willing to buy for it is what something is worth. I know it can feel sometimes like you're losing money when you're readjusting the price to $5,000 or $10,000, but in all reality, like you're not losing anything you didn't have in the first place. And a lot of that has to do with just your feelings, which goes into the next slide that we have, which is about keeping your emotions in check. And a good piece of this is you got to trust the plan and the process we lay down for you. You know, I know it's a big, scary, audacious thing you probably don't have a lot of experience at. This is where you really got to trust the marketing plan, the sales plan, and the process we have set in place for you and how that works, you know, and just understand like we're professionals with a track record and reviews and credibility. Like we're really not there to screw you over or to jack you around like some people think we are. Like some ways you got to just trust the plan, trust the process. We have a strategic strategy that we follow for launching these listings. Hopefully they sell well in the first weekend. If they don't, we have an ongoing service plan after the fact. And at the end of the day, like you kind of just got to trust the plan, the process. I get the sales skepticism, and I understand that like you may be unsure at first, but at some point you just got to trust me, trust the plan, trust the process, like trust that everything we're doing is in your best interest to ultimately get this thing sold and moved and gone on everything. And kind of over worrying, over fussing, over messing with it, like doesn't necessarily get your house sold any better. It kind of just creates a lot of chaos for yourself and everyone else included in the picture. Which is the next piece as far as self-soothing techniques go. Because I know a lot of times, man, I feel like I'm a life coach and a therapist and a counselor when I get into some of these things with people. But in all reality, like the job scope of a real estate agent isn't really in those things, even though we deal with a lot of those things on an ongoing basis. So something I've learned personally to do a lot to help with my own stress and pressure and everything else that I take on a regular occasion are self-soothing techniques like breath work. And there's a few of these that I recommend, like the Wim Hof method and belly breathing. and really big just exhales in sighs. You can Google all of these things. I'm not going to act like I'm a neuroscientist expert specialist on this. I'm just more of an enthusiast that participates and uses a lot of these things, and I want to share them with you through one of the most stressful times in your life, buying and selling a house. Because one of the three most stressful times in your life is getting married, having a kid, and buying a home or selling your home, either one. And these self-soothing techniques really help for you to basically just deal with the emotions that go on with these big life transitions. And, I can't be there every second of the day helping you through, talking you through, walking you through these things, but I can lead you into these things to show you how much these breathwork things can help tremendously when you're going through stress. So Google Wim Hof, belly breathing, deep exhales and sighs. Like, we don't realize how much we hold our breath, and we have, actually, I should have put posture on here for this too, because posture has to do with your breathing too, but getting full, deep, big belly breaths, like not just breathing from a tight constricted chest, which is where a lot of stress and anxiety comes from, like with your chest up and out while you're breathing and shoulders back, like breathing this way allows for oxygen to move through the body for you to process your emotions, process the psychology of everything that's going on, which goes in the next one is pausing and responding before reacting, because we're so quick to just react on our emotions and think and talk on our emotions. And a lot of times, like, we need to slow down, because in a lot of ways, like, going fast and anxious and crazy just aggravates the problem instead of actually helping solve the situation. Whereas a lot of times, if we slow down, take a big deep breath, pause and respond before reacting to whatever just triggered us or blew us up or having us feeling a certain way. Like, this is where, again, I feel like I'm more of a life coach than necessarily just a real estate agent, with helping you deal with stress and how to respond to stress in these times you're going through. So keeping your emotions in check is one of the biggest things I could help advise for a must do for selling your house in 2024. And then ultimately keep the big picture in mind, that why are we doing this? Like, why are we selling our house? What are we moving to? What is the big life reason of why we're doing this? Keeping that big picture in mind, that at the end of this whole thing, it's going to be worth it, because we're either going to be selling and moving to a bigger house, or selling and downgrading to a better lifestyle that's more affordable and more peaceful and more feasible for what we have going on. Or maybe we're moving out of state in order to take another job or be closer to loved ones. Or maybe we're moving across town, and keeping that big picture in mind of, like, why are we really doing this? Like, what is all this hassle and stress and agony and BS worth, other than the end goal we're trying to achieve? And keeping that big picture in mind while we're going through some of the stressful, crazy stuff is how you can really keep your emotion in check, that you kind of telling yourself, like, this is all going to be worth it. And then the last one, I'm going to get through this so I don't take too much time. For staging the home properly, usually when I say staging the home, people think of furniture and fancy pictures and all that stuff. And that's not really what we mean by stage the home properly. What we mean by stage the home properly is really like the condition, like we're talking about. What condition does your home display, both online and in person? And it boggles my mind why agents will use phone pictures or don't actually hire a professional grade media company, where that's photos, videos, anything that goes with that, is like, be a true professional. Because really, when you hire an agent to list and market and sell your home, you're hiring a marketing agency first, then a sales agency, then a real estate agency. There's a good amount of agents who try to just get by on real estate agents, or you have no marketing and sales skills. And that's really where they also don't have a budget for paying for these things for your listing. So professional grade media is an absolutely must do. Having your home clear and decluttered for that professional grade media is a big deal, because you really want to have a non-personalized feel on this whole thing. Because the idea is, people want to see this as kind of like a blank slate where they can walk in and picture themselves being in your home. This concept we call tactical empathy. You want to be thinking of this from the buyer's eyes, and how's the buyer going to view and buy your house, not the sentimental value of your home and how much you love it and appreciate it and everything that goes with it. In some ways, that doesn't entirely matter, because it's not your house that you're going to be living in anymore. It's someone else's house, and you got to think about it from their perspective, not yours. In order to get what you want, you have to give those people what they want. You want to get your house sold. In order to get your house sold, you have to think of it through, why is this buyer going to buy my house, and why do they want to buy my house? And we really got to get rid of the ego and the bias of our own, like, sentimental attachment to the house, which can be tough sometimes when you've lived there for a long time. One of the biggest ones I see is advanced advertising and remarketing plans. This is how you stage the home properly. You might have the nicest, fanciest, best presented house ever there, but if you don't advertise it and remarket it well, nobody's going to see it because anymore this game is played online. So to stage the home properly, it needs to be staged online through ads and also remarketing ads to show people this and to keep it in front of them, because otherwise it's going to get lost in Zillow and Realtor and all the portals and all the other listings and competition and houses that are out there that can be doing that. And I understand it's a constricted market, but the way you present the home online for staging matters more than ever. And I don't mean the hokey like digital renderings and all the tricky fake stuff. Like people are not really like impressed by that. So really quit pulling the tricks and the like trying to fool people, because it's not going to work, which is kind of what goes into the in-person experience I have here, that like it has to match the online exposure. The pictures and the in-person experience need to match. You're not going to trick people. You're not going to fool them. They're going to go see the house eventually. They're going to find out it's not the same thing that's online. Like quit playing games. Like just be straight up and straightforward. And what a revolutionary radical approach is, just be legit. Like be straightforward. The other things that really help for staging the home properly is a filled out and completed property condition report. Same thing with disclosures and improvements explained. Because a lot of times when people see these, it makes them more willing to go see the house, more willing to go do a showing, more willing to offer when you have disclosed everything you do or don't know about the property. But I've seen this tend to get slacked on, not completely filled out, just because people want to be lackadaisical with the process and the situation. But if you want to get the most out of your house and you really want to get it sold, these things are vital as far as the property condition report and disclosures and improvements explained online digitally ahead of time before people ever even come see the house. Like this online experience matters more than ever, like in today's age, than it did before, because people buy houses online even though they go view them in person. And so the in-person experience got to match online exposure. Everything needs to be clean to the touch and view. Any of your projects that you have going on, they need to be complete. They need to be done. You can't be like, oh, well, can I just, do that after the fact, or fix my dishwasher, or fix the drywall? Like what people see is what they believe. So if they see undone things at their house, they're going to be like, what else is undone this house? What else is wrong with it? You got to really think about that in-person psychological experience people are having. So same thing with print media displayed in the home, highlighting certain features and things you want to know. And then also takeaways buyers can keep. People love to have something in their hand, that stages the home properly. Because when you think of staging, again, you think like furniture and decor. That's not what I'm talking about here. It's like, make sure this is presented well is what we mean when we say stage the home properly. So those are the 3 must-dos for 2024. The biggest thing you can do from this is don't just watch this, take action. What are you going to apply from this? How, by when, how can I support you in doing so? And can I hold you accountable to this action plan? I'm your agent, but I'm also your guidance and your coach in this whole thing. I want to help you through one of the most stressful times of your life, but ultimately at the end of the day, I got to have participation on your end. You got to do some things for me to do some things for us to be successful at this. What do we got next? So that's all I got. Here's all my contact details, my website, my personal socials. All these should be in links below. Living in Wichita, Kansas, the YouTube channel. If you're an agent, Modern Agent Options is my other YouTube channel. Here's my number. You can text me at my email address. Appreciate you guys watching as always. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Check out many other videos if you want to check out Wichita. Hopefully this helps you for selling your home in 2024. And we'll talk with you soon. See ya.